Yo, we're back with another part of this video. It's all time-stamped. I'm just running through a bunch of music I've heard. Enjoy. Let's keep this train going, talking about Post Malone's entry into country music with Pickup Man.
Something women like about a pickup man.
So country fans have been watching Post Malone kind of flirt with going into country music for a few years now. He did that awesome Brad Paisley cover.
Well, I'm gonna miss her.
He's covered Sturgill.
Well, I've been spending all my money on weed and pills, trying to write songs.
He appeared at the CMA Awards this year for a Joe Diffie tribute alongside Morgan Wallen and Pardi. And I gotta say, he sounded the best of the three of them. I personally felt like the John Deere Green cover wasn't very good. Like it wasn't. It wasn't. Listen.
Hey, John Deere Green.
But it wasn't just a performance. It turns out that Hardy's brand Hicks Tape, which is now kind of becoming like a collective song collection sort of house thing, the same way you see like this song is by Abby Anderson and 615 House. It'll be like Hicks Tape music, and Post Malone and Joe Diffie are on Pickup Man. Anyway, I think Posty sounds pretty good on this song, and I think Joe Diffie sounds a little better because it's Joe Diffie. That's the voice I'm used to hearing on this song, and he's just got so much tone in it. But Post can sing, and he's never really just been a rapper as much as he's been like a pop star with a lot of hip hop and kind of rap elements in his songs. But I'm surprised how good he sounds singing this. Now they are sending it to radio, and it's kind of odd to just kind of have like a pretty faithful reinterpretation of the song go to radio now, but the gimmick factor of having one of the biggest stars in all of music want to do a country record is appealing to a lot of people, so I think it's actually taken off at radio pretty quick. Anyway, it's hard to be that mad at it, and I feel like for all of the people that have failed to go country, and I actually have a whole video on this channel about what happens when pop stars go country that you should check out. I think Post has kind of done this correctly of sort of laying the groundwork, ingratiating himself to country fans, showing a real interest in the genre so it doesn't feel totally out of whack. And it appears that there's going to be some actual, real, original country music coming from Post Malone sometime soon. So I'm excited to hear it. I want to mention this song by Tyler Halverson and Carter Faith called Tiffany Blue.
Tiffany Blue, just walk in a barroom, sit on a bar stool.
I've been getting into both these artists over the last year. I think the first Tyler Halverson song I heard is Your Bar Now, and then the first Carter Faith song I heard was called Greener Pasture. And together on this song, I think they do something very hypnotic and interesting with their harmonies. At times, it almost reminded me of Lucky by Colby Calais and Jason Mraz. And you've got a pretty sparse arrangement. There's this kind of plucked banjo, but it's kind of reverbed out. And you got the weird romance and sadness of the lyric Tiffany Blue. It's just a great vibe. And again, the way their voices fit together, it's like he kind of sings a little bit higher and she kind of sings a little bit lower.
Tiffany cold blue box in the closet, said she forgot it.
Sometimes you're wondering like, wait, which is the guy voice, which is the girl voice on this? There's something very special about it to me. Oh boy, we got the Fancy Like Christmas remix.
So we fancy like Christmas, round a fake tree, nutcracker on a...
When I tell you, this song had me dropping my jaw because I was like, wow, they're doing this. We're just gonna literally take Fancy Like and throw Christmas words into it like fruitcake. Boy, this feels very commercial, but I almost had to admire the audacity of it when it came in.
Go Jesus, it's your birthday, bougie like blow up.
Oh Jesus, it's your birthday. Walker Hayes remains one of these artists that's like one step forward, one step back for me. You know, I have a whole analysis on this channel of what's Walker Hayes trying to say. And I did in the course of making that video recognize this deep artistry that he can sometimes have, but man, sometimes his choices continue to confound me. This gave me the same vibes as the Macarena Joy mix, which if you've never heard, this is a real song. It's a pretty big yee nah from me. Next up is Dylan Gossett with his No Better Time EP.
Just take my hand and be with me.
If you're on TikTok at all, you have undoubtedly heard Dylan Gossett's song Cole, and I would say with good reason.
I've seen heaven without dying, met the devil without trying.
In this moment of lo-fi singer-songwriter jams, this is a great one. Smartly written, earnestly delivered. Pressure makes diamonds, why the hell am I still coal? It's a beautiful lyric. There's no way around it. A beautiful lyric. And it's gotten him a ton of attention. In fact, it has gotten him signed in this kind of interesting deal as the first new artist on Big Loud Texas, which is a new imprint that is being run by Miranda Lambert and John Randall. So it's kind of cool. I don't know if Miranda, that means she's going to Big Loud or what, or if she's on that label. That's unclear, but they're letting her kind of steer this new Texas imprint of what they do. And Dylan Gossett is the first artist officially signed there, and he's also got a deal with Mercury. It's complicated, who knows, business stuff. But I think this EP was recorded before all of that, and it's a very spare recording. It sounds like it was recorded in the same style as Cole, probably done mostly DIY by himself. And it's a nice showcase for him. I think he's got a good voice. It's a bit plain spoken, but he doesn't try to like kind of yell out everything or do something overly gruff. It's mostly sung nicely. My favorite writing on the album is definitely this song called Flip a Coin.
Let's flip a coin, heads for north and tails for south.
Which I think is just sweet and romantic. Although I really like the production on this one song called Lone Old Cowboy. It brings in a little bit of steel and some atmosphere, and I think it's important for artists in this sort of genre to be kind of embracing more musicality. I think the pendulum is shifting quickly out of this realm where we want everything so spare and acoustic, and I like seeing him experiment with some of that. I wish I could have the production of Lone Old Cowboy on the lyrics of Flip a Coin, because I think that's a really, really pretty song. Whereas Lone Old Cowboy, I kind of just like, again, I don't really believe him that he's this like loner cowboy. I'm like, you sort of seem like a nice suburban guy to me, and that's fine, you know, that's fine. I feel like I'm harping on that issue too much because I don't think Dylan Gossett is the best example of what I'm saying, but some of these kids that are making these Zach Bryan-ish records, they're all talking about how they're just drunk on whiskey and no one could ever understand them because they're just these bad boys out in the West. And I'm like, look, some of us in this human experience aren't outlaws. We aren't cowboys getting really drunk and being sad out in the wilderness. You know, we went to after prom and had 1.5 Mike's Hard lemonades and felt kind of guilty about it while playing Call of Duty. Like, and that's fine. That's a real story too. And so I just want, you know, people to tell those too. But anyway, I'm mostly impressed with this EP. Pretty simple, sweet, nicely delivered, not much to complain about. Speaking of Texas, let's talk about Flatland Cavalry's new album, Wandering Star.
I'm a provider.
Now, y'all know I love me some Flatland Cavalry. That chair over yonder in that corner, you can't really see it. It's not hung up right now, but that's the Homeland Insecurity album cover that I have framed because I love that album so much. And I wish I loved this album a little bit more. In some ways, you got some classic Flatland Cavalry writing. I love the song New American Dream.
But I'm wearing designer jeans and luxury optics.
It's sort of weird and ironic and looking at all these facets of modern culture in a humorous way. And it almost gives me a little bit of John Prine in the writing style. But a lot of the album felt a touch off to me. I felt like they were trying to introduce some like swagger and letting Cleto kind of do some ad-libs.
Put the pedal down, yeah.
Sort of playing a little bit more like rock star attitude. And I guess it feels like a square peg in a round hole. I'm like, I feel like Cleto is just such like a soft, poetic spirit that some of those songs felt a little weird to me. But I did like Last American Summer.
What a thing to get myself into.
I liked Spinnin'. But man, just energetically, the album didn't really excite me. It felt off. And I haven't found myself revisiting it the way that I did some of their earlier stuff, is what it is. An album I have really vibed with is Caleb Lee Hutchinson's Southern Galactic. That's the next one I drew.
I wanna take you for a ride in my phone.
This album is adventurous and strange. It's got elements of disco and kind of spaced out production. It was produced by a guy named Titanic Sinclair, and I was familiar with his work when he worked with Poppy.
Hi, it's me, Poppy.
Throwback to like 7 years ago YouTube. And there are moments on this, like Silverado, where you feel some of this sort of synthy disco energy, or my favorite track on the record, Used To.
As it used to, girl, I'm used to.
Get used to getting used to. Like, you use me, now get used to it. This like merges sort of like a Western galloping bassy thing with this awesome synth. It's so adventurous. One of the coolest productions I've heard this year. It feels totally different than anything in country and totally country at the same time. I actually saw Co Wetzel share over the weekend that he was jamming to Silverado, which I love. Good at Being Bad is a jam. And I love a record that takes a swing, and I feel like this one totally does. Caleb's voice is this like deep baritone, but it's got so much tone to it, and I totally think it is worth you checking out. John Pardi dropped a Christmas album.
Tonight I'm leaving beer out for Santa.
Merry Christmas from John Pardi has all of the production that you want to hear from a John Pardi record. That magical trio of Ryan Gore and Bart Butler and Pardi, they just know how to make music that works. It feels fun, it feels fresh, can feel winsome, and it feels super country, and that's the same on here. There's some silly songs that are originals throughout this. Beer for Santa, there's one called 400 Horsepower Sleigh, but the original that I like the most on here is a really weird song called Reindeer.
But all this snow just feels like reindeer.
And the way that they managed to fit all of the reindeer into the first verse of this song, and he's naming like Blitzen and Donner and Dasher and all these things.
A cup of cocoa with a dasher of whiskey.
It's totally one of those songwritery things that's maybe more a little bit self-serving, and other songwriters will be like, whoa, that's cool that they did that more than it serves the song. But it's so ridiculous how they fit all of them in that it actually crosses over into being entertaining for the masses as well. And then it's just pretty. It almost reminds me of his song Bar Light a little bit, and he goes, all the snow just looks like reindeer. And it's kind of a gloomy, sad Christmas song, and man, Christmas, saddest time of the year. I will never be gaslit by everyone saying, oh, it's the best time of the year. Not to me. It's sad. I like Casey Musgrave's Christmas Makes Me Cry. That is the one I relate to.
It always makes me cry.
So, for that reason, I gotta give a shout out to Reindeer as another good entry in the sad Christmas playlist. I will say there was a couple times listening to this and on some of the standards where Pardi's voice just didn't sound as good as it usually does. I know his voice generally is divisive, but there's like a scratchiness or a weakness to it in a few points where I was like, I've never really heard him sound like that. So that's my only like real criticism. Otherwise, it's a Christmas album. So, people put their spin on Christmas songs, and that's nice.